I'm Ash with Quantified Performance.
I'm Jack with Quantified Performance.
So what we're going to do is we're going to talk today about the changes for 2023. So we'll just talk about some observations that we had from 22. Then we're going to go into some changes based on what those observations came up with. And eventually we'll get down to the schedule, at least some of the schedule and some of the new venues that were popping up. And hopefully any kind of questions you have for 23 will get answered throughout this video.
Or you can send them to Ash in his DMs.
So. Yeah, slide into them DMs. It works good.
Yeah. All right. So I guess let's talk about what do we see in 2022? What led us down this path of making these changes?
I mean, to start off, we'd never run a series before.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it sounds really easy. It looks really easy when somebody's doing it correctly. You make some decisions and then you have to ride it through the entire year. So one of those decisions, and we'll start off with, I think was one of the big points of contention that we saw in 22 was the participation points.
Yep.
So that's where I saw a lot of things that people didn't like.
Yeah.
The other thing that we saw was having the series turned into a competition. So people said that it was less fun than previous years, and I get that, and I understand that and know where they're coming from. And then we saw some weird things with GP.
Yep.
But a lot of that stuff, there were some mistakes that I made that we'll get into when we start talking about that sort of stuff. There's some mistakes that I made. There were some things that we didn't like and some things that we got rid of. What did you see from your chair?
Like coming in, like first on, like biggest thing that's kind of sat with me that I've been talking about, thinking about, shooting, trying, really is the equipment race part of it. Okay. In the caliber specific orientation some people got in some of the divisions. And it is at the end of the day an expensive sport that is linked to equipment. I mean, like good guns, good calibers perform better than not as good things. So there are advantages, and that's also though why those things were created to start with, and how we're vetting out what that is or isn't. Right. There is an element of making things to fit a task. And a lot of our elements on the way that we approached this was trying to find things that already had a task and match that up to a competition, to show how well you're doing or not well you're doing with what you've got. I do think a lot of that though came out of the way we structured the matches, especially early on, to bring people up to speed with how to do these things. Right. that are more difficult than a 300-yard shot with an ACOG on an M4. Right. And getting that experience put in did get a bias, I think, in the way that people were perceiving the matches and what was required to be successful in them. They'd see the things they failed on and try to attack those. Right. And I don't mean negatively. I mean solving that problem. What's this problem that I'm trying to solve? And so much of those matches saw fairly small targets in mid-range to longer range targets. I mean, we had early matches. 1,000-yard shots were very common. Right. Not throughout every stage, but every day you would probably going to see something past 800. Yeah. And that got a lot of people focused on that, but it's like those are things that PRS guns do really, really good. Yeah. It's not really what we're trying to do here. So bringing in some change that I think is going to balance out a lot of that, as well as some of the changes we've also gone into actually looking at the division itself. And then I think the other thing was looking at the way we were doing the match scoring as it related to championship points. Yeah. I liked the concept that we had with the participation points. How many people did I beat in this match? Okay, well that should be something, more than just it was this many points. It kind of balanced out, that the points accumulation you were getting, which I like from a racing perspective. Right. Because there is that I'm working against this other person that I know, and working on our relative performance and then getting that little bit more, from that success or failure. And
the thing I didn't like about this traditional point styles is I didn't like the top 10 or the top 5 all showing up at the finale with the same amount of points. Mm-hmm. And so the hope for the participation points was that it would break that up. Yeah. Right now, the people that are leading the divisions got there with a lot of participation points. Mm-hmm. And one of the big things when we first started talking about the series was, how do I beat, these guys, Tyler Payne, Scott Peterson, Mike Russo right now.
Other than just out shooting him.
Right. I mean, but I just can't beat that guy because Tyler shows up and he puts on a show, and shoots the match in half the time that some of the competitors are doing. So we wanted this other points thing to where even if you shot, the guy gets 100% and you got 70% of there,
Mm-hmm.
you're still in second place. You got this number of points, right? And in a way, it worked, but it just turned into a lot of didn't work.
Yeah, I mean, it's also disparity, that you're looking at between venue.
Right.
If I'm shooting a place, it might have a rad match, but it's all inside 500.
Right.
That's a different match. It's a different thing than we're getting when you go like maybe out west, and the majority of what you're shooting is past that exact same amount.
Right.
So you wind up with shooters not really participating equivalently, and then accumulating these points. And like my thought was always like, well, it's gonna balance out when it hits the finale, because that's kind of that final, like, this is what everyone should be doing, or this is the skills that we're looking for everybody to be showing up with. So it's like, while we had an idea on there, and I liked it in general, I wasn't linked enough to it that I thought that it distinctly changed how we were approaching the problem of giving a good match or giving a good series, giving somebody a prize where nobody thought that guy didn't deserve it.
Right. And that's one of the things that we had to ride for the whole year. And that's why we didn't make any changes to it. It was only 2 or 3 matches in, and we decided we really didn't like this, and it really wasn't doing what we wanted it to do. But we had started out the year that way, so we wrote it for the whole year.
It kind of runs into like, it's like running a stage in a match. Even if it's messed up, it's got to stay that way all the way through. So everybody's doing the same thing all the way through. It's equal, it's even.
Yeah.
And believe me, we listened. We heard. I mean, we've been talking about this for probably since the 3rd match.
Yeah. It's been a hot minute, and we debated it heavily before we even started it. And then now here we are, 4 or 5 days from the finale, and we got all that data, right? Quantified performance. We had to see all that data. We had to look at it throughout the entire year. And then there were some other things that we're doing some changes on, and we'll start leaning into changes to the series. But we were paying attention to all that sort of stuff. And if you didn't talk about it in groups or on pages that we couldn't see, obviously we didn't see what you're talking about. But if you brought it to our attention, we noted it, we paid attention to it, we looked at it, and we were looking for ways to change it. But again, some of that stuff we had to ride the whole year. And some people didn't like it, and maybe they'll like it next year.
Well, I guess that leads us right into, well, what are we changing? So let's get it. So rule changes going into 2023. I think let's talk about the championship itself. So how's that start? How do I get in on the championship?
So we're going to call full membership this year. Full membership is going to put you into the series. It's going to get you a little membership card. It's going to get you, a shirt, maybe some hats, some stuff like that, like full membership, just like you expect at any other place, right? I should get something with my membership. A couple ways you can do that. It's going to be $120 for the year, and you're going to get these things with it. You can do that either. I did a competition tier on Patreon, which is it used to be the education tier, is $10 or above per month, or you can pay the $120 straight up for the year. But decide on that fairly quickly, because we put some we put a wear out date on match points.
Yep. So 30-day grace period.
Right.
So shoot a match. Now, either you weren't signed up, for the championship, or you realized you did better than you thought, or you just realized that you really do like this and you want to try to shoot it out to go into the championship, to get that invitation to the finale. You've got 30 days.
Right.
After that, we just can't keep going back and forth. Like we need, like if we're going to do this, we need things moving along so we know how many people we actually have participating in this.
And that's one of the mistakes I made for 22, because we had talked about doing that. I just never put that out. And there were some people that, use that, right, play the game. The opportunity was there. So we just want to make sure that we're putting that out this year, that there is this 30-day window on points. And then, so that there's the 2 ways, and it's going to be on the website. There's going to be links there, and if you sign up for it, or you're already in that tier, you're already in the championship for 23.
Yep. So this, it hits the best 4 days of competition.
Right.
So it's a mix of, It can be 4 1-days, 2 2-days, a 2-day, and 2 1-days. You know, but best 4 days of scores is what we're going to put in for your points.
Right.
So, you know, if you do screw up one, you know, you've got an opportunity to come back somewhere inside of that.
Yeah. And I got a little sheet, and I've got it up on the website right now. It's not updated, but there's a little sheet that's tracking all the scores in it. And what I do is I just go in there and highlight your highest score, and then that's what I throw on there. That's where we're putting all the points on the website. That was one of the things we had to work towards this year, was getting the website to support that. We finally got there, and since sometimes, again, things we noticed in 22, they're trying to fix for 23.
Yep. So we already covered pulling the placement points out, so you're not going to see that again going into 23. And those will not be a factor going into the finale this year, correct?
Right. Yeah, they're gone for the finale. The other thing that we did was we changed to time plus points.
Yep.
So we'll have you talk through that real quick in a minute, but that's just some of the things where the finale is going to look, how 2023 is going to look.
Yep. All right. So that's what championship looks like. So let's slide into the rule changes that we're going to be looking at coming into Jan 1, 2023. So these rule changes, like I said, will take effect beginning of the year, and that allows Cincinnati Precision to run their match here coming up in a couple weeks.
Yep.
Without changing what their guys were anticipating walking in and using.
Yep.
You know, it does change a little bit in the overall. It's one match out of everything. Would rather have it happen with one match in the year, you know, right as when we're running it, because, you know, there's just not enough time to be able to run these, make the changes, get them updated in time. So you're going to have a pretty decent gap between Sin City and the next match.
Yep.
To have everything settled out. So going to that, I think the most important thing coming up is the mandatory stages.
Yep. Yeah. So what we did was, we had matches that were happening throughout the place, because we had a bunch of venues this year. We're adding more venues next year. Match didn't look the same from here to there. So the easy way to do that is for points races or points matches. There's going to be 3 stages that are mandatory. The first one is the mid-range rifle quantifier. That one is that's the one we put up on the YouTube the other day. We put it out in a members group, all those sort of places. That one is run as written.
Yep.
So that one is 2 targets at 100 to 150-ish, just depending on, leaving some wiggle room in there for match directors.
Fairly generous targets.
Generous
all
targets.
across.
We're more focused on you getting through this stage quickly, rather than you shooting more gooder. Right. That's what I need to do, is see if you can process these targets with the quickness, rather than shoot really good.
Yep.
Then there's going to be 3 targets that are up, and you're going to shoot them left to right. They're going to be in between 250 and 350, and so where they are in that band, but they're going to be 3 targets. You're going to shoot target 1, target 2, target 3, target 2, target 1. And again, those are going to be anywhere between 250 and 350, just in there. And where they're sequenced at doesn't really matter.
And that's shot off the ladder.
That's shot off the ladder.
It's a standardized thing. It's easy to get.
Yep.
Like everybody's got a ladder.
Yep.
So ladder comes out, gets placed on the stage. You move over to it, one position on the ladder.
Yep.
If you want to change, you can.
Yeah, and if you want, and you can shoot anywhere on the ladder. If that position you chose is not working, move. Right. We want you to get the hits. You're not committed to that. You know, I chose this one. I chose poorly. Move. Get your hits. Get off the ladder. Get into the prone. So
Three attempts per target.
Yep.
Hit the targets. Then move off that ladder.
Yep.
Get off that ladder. Go prone. Single target at 550 to 650.
Yep. And it's probably going to lean towards 600 more, but right in there in that band, again, the match director has that ability to move around inside that. But for a points match, that stage is mandatory as written. So you're going to see that one. So that was one of the ways that we could kind of fix this the disparity in between matches. Second one, we're giving the match director a little bit more leeway. That is going to be a 15 hit stage, sub 250.
15 hit minimum.
15 hit minimum. So we've shot this a lot. Chaos is a good example of them. Pit stop that we did once or twice. That sort of stage, that sort of fast, lots of hits. Then that's match director can figure that out how he needs to for that range.
And for these types of stages, for these other mandatory stages, you've got the ability to move around what you're doing inside that. So we say it's a 15 hit minimum out to 250. Yep. As long as you have 15 or more targets inside 250, you can throw more out along with that. We just need to be getting at least 15 hits inside of 250. I think good match directors will want to change that up a bit, do some different things. We're just trying to make sure we are putting speed and moving through those positions, getting your sights moving quickly, accumulating those hits quickly, you know, and your gun needs to work.
Yep.
And then going from that, we've got a mandatory long range stage.
Yep.
So it looks a lot like that close range stage where you've got a mandatory number of hits at a certain range band. It's going to be 6 hits required past 700.
Yep. And then so throughout that points match of the 8 stages, 3 of them, you're going to do these things. You're going to shoot up close, you're going to shoot the mid range, and you're going to shoot long. So what we get from that, and then a match director, those other 5 stages can be whatever they want to do. But what we get is every match, 3 of those stages, we have something that we can balance off of, and we can make sure that everybody that's shooting these points matches are shooting the same basic things.
So, and we're very specific here. These are for matches that are points matches that are going to be giving you points to go into the championship.
Right.
If you want to run another match that doesn't have the ability to do these, or you're just not interested, or you just want to turn it over real fast and have a $10 match, your buddies can come up and shoot. Awesome.
Yeah.
Super happy to do that. But if you want to run a points match, these need to happen.
Right. And we've got venues that are wanting to do a monthly match. Mm-hmm. And monthly match may not be something that we want to do full 8 stages on, you know, because it gets dark. Mm-hmm. You know, certain places may not want to do full 8 stages. But if it's going to be for points, you got to have those 3 stages.
Yep. And I think that puts us into match scoring.
Right.
So from the matches going forward, everything's going to be run on stage points. That means that every stage is worth 100 points. The highest performer in that gets 100 points.
Right. Your
points after that are your percentage of performance off of that. So,
but easy way that I look at that is we're all familiar with time plus and percentage of leader, but basically the time plus points turns each stage into scoring just like that time plus match used to be. So each stage has its own points that come out of it, and it's based off percentage of leader. You get that sort of points. What that does is this burner stage is worth the same amount of points and the same amount of time, because the only thing that's coming across there is the points, as that long range stage.
Yep.
So that long range stage could be, you know, maybe everybody's shooting that in 90 seconds and everybody's shooting the burner stage in 15 seconds. That's cool, but it's not going to be a huge gap on there. That way that makes each stage worth that same amount, and they're not weighted incorrectly based on what we're trying to do.
And going into this, you know, we're not coming from a PRS side of points accumulation in time. Right. All the stages should be attainable with basically a GP rifle.
Yeah.
And you know, being able to go in, set up, get those hits. It might take you part-time to get it, but everything is attainable inside of that. Yeah. It's a speed race. You know, it's not, you know, how far can you run a marathon? It's quarter miles.
Right.
So stage points going over, and then that's going to, you know, as it contributes in, it's going to be easy to watch where you're going. It doesn't have a single stage dominating the time, you know, where if you mess up one stage, you're just completely out of the running, right. You know, because they're all on a standardized 100 points. All right, well then let's talk about changes to divisions.
Okay. So before we get into the changes we did for GP, we've been looking at this. We talked about doing another division. There wasn't a lot of interest in that other division, but we're looking at making changes to GP because GP had the most contention. So what we were looking at was we talked about it, and it didn't even get as far as a name, but basically it was taking that GP rifle and changing the scope. And then, you know, just seeing if people wanted to shoot that division, people didn't want to shoot that division. So that brought us down to making changes to GP.
Yep.
And there's been a lot of, we've talked about this a lot. Wasn't something we just woke up and we're like, hey, we're going to do this.
Yep.
There was a lot of debate in it. Really, there's only one change, and this is one of the things, the reason why it's not going into effect until the 1st of January is, you know, people have guns set up like this. But what's the big news on GP?
GP, limiting your barrel to 16.5 inches.
16.5.
You know, we created GP from the beginning, you know, with a look to bring an existing setup into the match. You know, being an old 3-gunner, I was like, man, I want to get 3-gunners out to these matches. And a lot of 3-gunners from the time I was shooting were shooting 18-inch guns with 1-to-8 optics. So we kind of want to standardize that as what that would look like. Ultimately, though, that wasn't really what we're getting a result.
Right.
And we're failing to really meet, the people that have a rifle that can come out and compete on an open playing field, or an even open playing field. And so inside of that, in order to better recognize what is actually filling that need, a 16-inch barrel is the most common thing that we're going to see inside of a general purpose rifle now. And if a 3-gunner, wants to come in, hey man, that's fine. You can shoot in practical.
Yeah.
It doesn't really hurt us. But that the barrel length difference between GP and practical was just not really what we thought we were going to be looking at.
Yeah.
We thought we'd come back more an optics thing, and then a lot of the divisions really were initially kind of optics specific.
Right.
So we saw those changes to practical last year, and it seemed to go really well with where it was going, settled that one out. But it did expose a weakness inside of GP of what's the purpose, what are you shooting, why are you shooting that?
Yeah. We had a lot of issues on the 1-10s when the 1-10s came out and got popular, and trying to work through there. And so that 16-inch barrel is, that's going to put, because we have people coming from the proving grounds, and we have people that were coming in, just, what you have in the safe, your primary and secondary gun, that 16-inch is putting it more into that rather than doing a purpose built, race gun for that.
Yep.
Now if it comes up and people want to have, maybe with this change, they want to have that SPR division, I'm not opposed to doing that with the 18-inch gun. But for right now, 16-inch for GP.
Yep. If you take a look at that, the combination of things we've done here inside of our rules changes. So we've got stages that require high performance in a mid-range, which is easily attainable with a 16-inch 5.56 gun. We've got a close range stage, which is going to heavily bias in favor a working 5.56 gun. And then, the long range, which kind of acknowledges the fact that we are trying to push these systems and shooters to that raggedy edge of performance.
Right.
And yes, an open gun is going to have an easier time at those 700-yard stages.
Yeah.
But it's going to balance out what the guys are doing in that mid area.
Yeah.
Where's your real advantage in here? Because different systems, different tools have different benefits. So select accordingly.
Yep.
Working guns tend to win.
Yeah, there's a zeroed gun that runs the whole match. Does really good.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's a good starting point at least.
Yeah.
So those are the major points in our rule changes. We're going to have a full, written out thing for all these. We'll do a full official rule release. Most of the meat and potatoes of the matches and how they run stays the same. I guess the other thing then is, what are we looking at? Who's coming on board? What new areas are going to be looking at having matches?
We got a bunch of new venues coming on for 23. Stuff that we've been working for most of the year. The first one, other than Sin City, that's going to be in a couple of weeks. But the first match in 23 is going to be in Texas. We're doing a doubleheader. You're going to see many more of those. Not many more, probably 4. You're going to see double headers with the proving grounds. And that's one of the reasons that we looked at this for GP. We did that at Sawmill already. Proving grounds is Saturday. We shot on Sunday. So the first one, we're going to Dilley, Texas on the 26th February. We're going to be in Dilley, Texas, doing the double header. Then we're going to be popping up here in Volusia March 5th. And then there's Washington State. If you're in Washington State, we've got a match coming out to you, Rattlesnake. That's the 11th of March. And then we're doing our first weekend at the arena on the 1st and 2nd of April. Now that we talked about 16-stage matches, 2-day matches. There's going to be one 2-day match next year, one 16-stage match, and that's going to be the finale. So all these things, even though we're in a place for 2 days, they're going to be a match on Saturday, a match on Sunday. Not necessarily like the Twins like we did before. But we're bringing that format to, we got arena, we've got Pig River coming on board. We've got Ben Franklin Range up in Pennsylvania, and we should have Quantico on board. So we've got South Carolina, so we've got Texas now, Nevada, Washington State, trying to get some interest going in Colorado and in Arizona. So basically our goal is to have a match happening within 3 or 4 hours of you, at least twice a year. That way to minimize that travel that we're having to do. So we're going to we'll be putting out more of the schedule, but we've locked in all the way until June. We'll be putting that up on the website, making that a pin post on everything, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And we're trying to bring that fun back into it, but also a competitive fun.
Yes.
So that's apparently one of the things that we've lost is the fun. So we're trying to bring the fun back, and a lot of that's going to be in stage design. We are going to have lunch at the finale. Lunch is going to be provided. So that's one of the things we promised. 2-day matches, going to have lunch. There's 1 2-day match. That's all the way out there.
Yeah.
So
all right. So guys, that's where we are. That's where we've come from. We've heard you. We've been listening to what's been happening out there. Believe me, we just couldn't change things right in mid stride. Take a look at what's going on. There's really good ways we're able to get this into where we've wanted to be from the beginning. The finale should be our exceptional show of what exactly we're trying to achieve. What we want people to be participating and competing against each other, what we want you to find out what works best on, because that's really what this comes down to, is quantifying your gear, quantifying your skill sets, and taking a honest view of what's working and what's not. And sometimes that thing is you need to get better.
It's a technique. So yeah, 23 is going to be a good year. Well, we should have fun, and see you next weekend for most of you guys.
Be safe.
Later.